Welcome, Peter, back to the show. Glad you could join me again.
It's good to be back. It's great to be back, actually. Yeah.
We were doing a little bit of pre-gaming, and we were just both talking about how this kind of a connection has actually been helping to keep us mentally afloat throughout the whole thing. So I guess we're practicing
Yeah.
our values.
Yeah.
You were going to say something about gratitude. I think that would be a fantastic point.
Well, so in our pre-gaming conversation, we were talking a lot about COVID and just what our personal experiences have been like and how hard it's been. And yet, like, I mean, you were kind of sharing a little bit about how, yeah, through that toughness and hardness has kind of been able to kind of pull back and reveal important things to you, like your values and what's important to you, kind of being able to reconnect with that. And I was thinking for myself, it's been really tough. I'm going to share some personal information I feel comfortable sharing, but I have two kids, young kids, and I'm trying to do the distance learning and having them at home. As with everyone, it's been really difficult. So there's been a lot of stress and anger and frustration. And I found myself just really getting very reactive, especially around my family as my kids. And so I tried, I practice what I preach. I do these ACT skills. And so I started trying to really pivot and kind of connect with what kind of person do I want to be, and slowing down and just being really present with my kids. And COVID kind of had to force me to do that. And in doing so, there's been a lot of like the idea of gratitude's been coming up a lot. And so I maybe wanted to kind of get into a conversation about how gratitude relates to ACT and some of the work we do. But I've been really trying to just step back and be grateful for what I do have. And here's a weird example. I mean, this is going to sound weird for the people out in Rhode Island, but I'm in California. And so, as I'm sure you knew, this summer we had these major wildfires. And so there's days where you go outside and the sky is just this like demonic glowing orange and yellow. And you can't breathe. You're just like, your lungs start hurting. You got to wear a mask, not because of COVID, but because of like all the ash and all that sort of stuff. And so this went on for like, for like weeks. And finally, like we got some blue sky and we got some fresh air. And I never thought I would appreciate just this beautiful blue sky and this clean fresh air to kind of breathe. And that to me is like, oh, like you don't realize how important and precious things are until you kind of don't have them, or you kind of come into
don't have access to them.
Don't have access to them. And so for me, it's kind of been like, okay, I miss being around a lot of people. I miss doing a lot of stuff. And so there's a lot of appreciation for what I do have. It's almost kind of taking that step back and kind of saying, okay, like I have, right now my family's healthy and I'm really appreciative of that. I have like a roof over my head and I can put food on the table, and there's a lot of suffering out there, and I do feel fortunate, but yet then I feel guilty about that, but I kind of notice that and check that. But I don't know, the idea of gratitude's been coming up quite a bit, like how to be grateful for things. So I don't know what your thoughts were on the idea of gratitude, or how it kind of comes in.
Yeah, gratitude's kind of like a weird, it gets a lot of lip service. There's a lot of cliches around it, but I don't know that you can actually tap into what it really is. And your example is a fantastic example. And I always talk about this as well as the pain of presence. There's the smoke that's in the air. There's the COVID and not being able to go and having to wear a mask and being cut off. Those things in your mind, that's what your mind just latches onto. So the pain of presence is that. The thing that's out in front. The thing that we often miss, though, that actually I think hurts more, is that pain of absence, and that would be the blue sky. And as you were talking about that, there's a way to actually move off and see the self in context, right with what you just said there. And it's the sky and the weather metaphor, and it's kind of like, so your negative thoughts, your negative emotions, or actually just your emotions, your memories, your thoughts, they could be positive as well. If they're overwhelming, it can be too much as well. You win the lottery and you're just like freaked out. That's a storm, just a different kind of storm, and a storm I think most people would try to weather. But doesn't necessarily mean it doesn't cause a lot of the same physiological responses. So the thing about storms is, no matter how smoky the air is, no matter how crazy the hurricane is, how severe the winter storm is, it can't harm or hurt the sky. And I think that's where the gratitude kind of comes in, when you can actually remember that you're the sky. And all this stuff is just going on in your presence. If you just sit there and go, oh, look at this. Oh, that's that.
Yeah.
And recognize that there's the pain of presence, the storm, there's the pain of absence, blue skies, calm skies. Well, it does give you a way to actually, in the moment, be present with what's going on and hold it lightly. And if we were to fly up 40,000 feet, you'd see the storms down below, but you'd also see that if you looked in other direction, it's vast, and it's a container, and it's blue skies as far as you can see. And in a way, that's what a lot of us have been doing without realizing it. We're floating up every once in a while. We get these moments where we float up and we go, well, yeah, there's a storm here, but I can see it's going to part over there. And wow, it's blue as can be over there. And that's my family, my house, everybody's safe, blue sky. A vaccination, I can see that there's the end of the storms over there. So if we can pull up high enough and be present in that moment, that's the things that we're grateful for. They're right there. So I think gratitude is really trying to get people to just focus, point to. And all the other stuff, all the other, should I ask for help? Should I do, it's kind of like Schmiegel from
Lord of the Rings.
It gets so fixated on that one ring, my precious, and we get fixated on that and so highly focused that internally we have that. And I love my Schmiegel. He's there to, like, fine, we'll be okay. This problem is, we're bigger than that. I mean, even in those movies, they show how he has the conflicts, and most of the time he's getting stuck in it, but every once in a while he can see outside of that. So the gratitude helps. It's a lifeline to being present. What we're having right now.
No, I love it because I have heard, when you said the cliches and stuff, sometimes people just only focus on the good things, focus on what you're grateful for, and I think the idea is like dismiss what is hard or difficult. And for me, that's not the case. I mean, I think if I can be present with what's hard and difficult, if I can step into and notice and just kind of practice some of those acceptance skills around it, I then can make room and space for those difficult, painful feelings. But in making that room and space, I'm not in a fight with them, and I'm not lost to them like Schmiegel is with the ring. I'm able to also see the really nice things around. So another example is like I loved running. I used to do triathlons. I did kickboxing, and the cartilage between my big toe and my feet is just gone at this point. And I don't know. It's just like the doctor said it might be genetic, the podiatrist I've seen. But long story short, if I start bending that big toe or trying to go running, it's bone on bone, and it gets painful and it hurts for weeks. And so it's really limited some of the stuff that I can do physically that I enjoy doing, a lot of the exercising stuff. And so, that first happened, and there's a lot of like sadness and God, this sucks. Like I could be doing all this other stuff, all the feeling of like the loss, the absence, and they're kind of focused on that. But as I've kind of gotten older and I just have kind of stepped back, I have to say, like, well, I still can like walk around pretty well, and I still can go bike riding. I can still do this other stuff. And so there's like, I miss that, but I also appreciate what I do have for my health a lot more. So it's kind of that gratitude about, okay, so I still am able to kind of do this. So for me, sometimes that loss, there can be wisdom in it and just more insight and kind of a little bit more richness and appreciation for what I do have. And COVID's been a little bit like that as well. It's not that I want it. I mean, God forbid, I would love it if we didn't have COVID. But the fact is, we have to practice a lot of acceptance around COVID. And in doing so, though, I try to kind of open up and say, okay, what do I have? What can I be thankful for? Like, even though like I'm missing some of the stuff.
And I would say that what we're describing is unavoidable. There's going to be moments, because if you're used to something being a certain way, and we've never been pushed or challenged, you could call it a certain level of entitlement, or at least an expectation. Like, this is how it's always been. This is how it should be. Then something comes along and challenges that notion, COVID, or up until a certain point when joints start falling apart, you assume my body will work just fine. And you hear that there's things that can happen, and you're like, well, that won't happen to me. There's another bias. Part of it is you don't have that you don't have that frame. You don't have that way to see. You haven't had that experience. How do you know how you're going to react? And there's
Yeah.
actually some interesting research out there which does show that our ability to predict how we will react emotionally, so it's affective prediction, sucks. It's terrible. We're not good at it at all. And it was the research is done with a bunch of women who were about to have children, and they would ask them, how are you going to do? And some women would say they were terrified, and some of it was all done with moms. It would be
Yeah.
to see what happened with fathers too, but I'd imagine about the same. I
Yeah.
think I'm terrified. I think I'm going to be fantastic at this. Nothing but, but rainbows and unicorns. And what they found is that when they went back 6 months and then I think a year or two after, I don't remember, it's been a while since I've read this, and they asked them, 85% of them were wrong. 85% of them said, while I was terrified, I didn't know there would be this, how I would feel this. And
Oh,
they
yeah.
had like the over positive projection said, I had no idea it could be this terrifying. So
Yeah.
they were all off. So a lot of times it's like, well, we sit there, and like when I had to have a knee surgery done several years ago, and I thought it was going to ruin my ability to dance. And that was just,
Yeah.
and I'm like, this is going to be horrible. I don't know how emotionally how I'm going to deal with that. I'm going to be sad all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Wrong. I moved into I'm still doing Lindy. I still do Balboa, but we started to move into tango. It doesn't have the
Yeah.
same impact on it. I still get
Yeah.
to dance. And that's the pain of presence, again, it would be the knee injury, or in
Yeah.
your instance, the toe, the
Yeah.
toe is being worn
Yeah.
away.
Yeah.
And what I found is that the pain of presence was the illness, but the pain of absence was the creativity, the dance, the connection. And it took a while just to step back, notice that, be flexible and move into that, and to
Yeah.
be grateful that I can do any of it at all. So I don't know if
Yeah.
I can just be grateful because
Yeah.
somebody said, you should be grateful. Yeah. There's plenty of people starving, blah, blah, blah. You should,
Oh,
be,
yeah.
you
Yeah.
should be grateful. And that's a cultural message which is fired at us because it is important.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you're almost shooting on deaf ears, because until you
Yeah.
actually have a point where there is pain, you
Yeah.
don't recognize its value.
Yeah. 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 No, 100%. And so that's sometimes why I love what you're saying, because I mean, we don't have control over life's going to throw us hardship and pain, and we just don't have control over it. And that's such a hard thing to kind of recognize. But things can be going great, and all of a sudden, you get a call that your favorite uncle or your dad's just died, or there's been some sort of accident, or we get COVID, or there's wildfires, and there's just there's going to be this stuff in our life that we don't have control over, and so the more we're able to kind of be present with it, we choose kind of how do we want to react from it, and how do we what kind of wisdom do we want to get from it, how do we want to kind of how that's why I like going back to kind of the values, because I don't know, you put a really good thing around like parenthood. There's all these ideas about how is parenthood going to be, it's all these images and sitcoms and movies and all this sort of stuff. And when you have a kid, there's just, you realize like there's a lot that's out of your control. Yeah, and you have to use a ton of acceptance. And I love there's a great metaphors, the crying baby on the plane metaphor. I use that with some of my clients.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yep.
Yeah. And if you want to know more about it, Todd and I both have videos on that one, and you can check it out. But yeah, I mean, literally, that's kind of sometimes what you have to do is you just have to be like, okay, there's I don't have control over this. And so it's very humbling, but in doing so, you're kind of stripping away all those kind of layers, and you're kind of having to be like, okay, how do I stick? What kind of parent do I want to be, even when my kid is screaming and crying uncontrollably? I'm beyond tired, and that's where your values can really kind of kick in and
you
be
can make
extremely
gratitude.
helpful.
You can make gratitude a value. You could be like, okay, so in this situation, I don't know how to proceed. I'm feeling overwhelmed. I certainly don't feel great. I don't feel grateful right now.
Yeah.
This sucks.
Yeah.
So push away, be present, diffuse, notice what's happening. And it's really just comes down to be present in the moment. And instead of trying to reject and move away from this, just notice it. Now, what would I need to do to move towards gratitude here?
Yeah.
Well, it may not be immediately obvious, but if I can go and engage with my children and do something meaningful with them and be compassionate and connect and be strength, or whatever the other value, more than one value.
Yeah.
then when I look back, I'll be grateful I did
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
not necessarily just the gratitude that gives me an immediate payoff, because if it's giving you an immediate payoff, then it's most likely a short-term goal, which
Yeah.
means you're just escape, avoid, control. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. Exactly.
And that's the
No,
trick.
I think, yeah, that's a trick. And it's an interesting antithesis to anxiety, because anxiety is so much about, oh my God, I can't take this. This is too much. I'm really worried, and like that, really kind of getting that tunnel vision.
Yes.
And gratitude, if the way I try to use it is a little bit more like, I have my anxiety, this is really difficult, this is hard, but let me take a step back and kind of take this from a wise view. So for example,
Let's move up to the sky perspective.
yeah, well, the sky perspective, yeah, the noticing self. Well, so
Oh.
what I think about is, with my young kids, people walk by, I'm like, oh, I miss those days. Like, you always hear like, oh man, I miss those days. That's so great. I'm thinking to myself, like, God, like, they don't sleep through the night, like all the messes, all the why. So no. I mean, I don't miss this at all. And I have had some people say, yeah, I don't miss that part of it. But they do, you often hear the fondness of when your kids are younger. And so for me, there'll be situations where things are crazy, kids are screaming. I just feel like I'm literally going to tear my hair out. And then I say to myself, I say, okay, you know what? I'm probably going to look back at this and laugh one day, and I'm going to appreciate this. And then I kind of say to myself, well, can I appreciate this right now? Can I laugh at this right now?
Well, no, yeah. I'm grateful.
Yeah,
I'm
well, it's
grateful
kind
for
of
the
like,
COVID-19 pandemic. People will look at you like, what? I'm like, it took me a while to get there.
yeah,
But
yeah.
I'm grateful because it's actually allowing me to connect in a way that wasn't available to me before, because I didn't even know it was missing.
Yeah. And so, but even saying like, I'm grateful about COVID, I mean, when you say that, in my mind, that's a hard thing to kind of go, because there's people who have lost families. Like we've had good friends who are in the hospital, and there's all this like horrific stuff, and you're like,
Yes.
What is going on? Like the rollout, this is terrible. And yes, that is all valid.
Yep.
And at the same time, it's like that we can have that as well. And at the same time, can I also see the sky piece of it as well? Because there is, whether we like it or not, there's things that we appreciate and that we can be grateful for.
No,
and so
if I could have cured it, eliminated it, stopped it from happening, absolutely, I would have done it in a heartbeat. But I don't have that kind of control, and so it's just like I've lost. At this point, there's been 2 patients that I've working with an older population. They died, and that's hard, because in my mind, to me, it's like, well, could I have done something? And no, thank you, but we're good. There's only so much you can do.
Yeah.
And that side of it, and this is a really hard concept for people to grab, especially that I deal with people living who have cancer or have an illness or whatever. And I'm just like, you can still be grateful that this thing that you don't want is actually exposing the things that really, really matter to you. So I'm grateful for the opportunity, would probably be the better way. I'm grateful that for the opportunity this terrible situation is giving me. And if I can override and surpass and outlive this, that's something I'm going to have forever. So yes, I'm not saying that I'm really happy that COVID-19 came in and caused all this havoc and mayhem. I'm like, no, because there's other things that have gotten there as well.
Yeah. Although my introverted clients, my introverted clients are like, I do like doing Zoom school, not having to go to school and be around a bunch of people. It's like, all right, that's fair. I mean, you're making me think, and I know we'll probably need to stop in a sec, but the professor in the glass jar metaphor, where this is around the values, and so I'll just do it real quick. Like there's a college professor, pre-COVID, first day of class. Bunch of students come in, new students, college students. He brings out a huge glass jar and he sets it down in front of the table. And everyone's kind of looking, gets a bunch of ping pong balls, pours them in, fills it up, and says, "All right, guys, is this full?" And the students look around and say, "Yeah, it looks like it's full." It's, okay, great. And he takes a bunch of gravel and he pours that in. It kind of filters in between. And ask again, "Does this look full now?" And they say, "Yeah, okay, it's full. Okay, we got it." Takes a bunch of sand, kind of pours that in, and filters in between the gravel and the ping pong balls, and up to the top. And once again, he asked if it's full. The class is like, okay, fine. Yes, professor.
And at that
full.
point, if I'm a student, I'm going, yes, but.
But exactly. Then he cracks 2 beers, pours that in. They're like, okay, buddy, we get it. It's full. You know, someone's like, what's the point of this, professor? What's the point? What are you doing this for? The professor says, okay, this glass jar is your life. And the ping pong balls are those things that are really, really important to your life. If you took everything else away, you would feel like you had a full life. These are those important relationships. What your passions are, what your leisure, like whether that's travel, whether that's art, whether that's some sort of sports, or like in your case, like dance, and
art, gardening,
yeah, all
running,
that sort of stuff. Running, yes. Yeah, those relationships, those kind of career
times
stuff.
with family. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. All those things that, like, if everything was stripped away, you would feel like you had a full life. The gravel's all the kind of like stuff that you need to do. Sometimes having a car, having a house, being able to kind of get to work, and
the grind work.
The grind work, yeah. I mean, stuff that's nice to have. Like, sure, it's nice to have like a car and like a nicer car, a nicer house. But God forbid if it was between losing important relationships or losing your car, the relationships are more important.
Usually.
Hopefully. Yeah, usually. And the sand's all the little, like, just the annoying stuff that you have to do, the tickets and the emails and the annoying people at the grocery store, all that sort of stuff. And so kind of starting to think about yourself, like, what is important? That's what COVID can kind of do. It's almost like, all right, if we take away the gravel, if we take away the sand, like what is that really, really important stuff in my life?
Just leave a whole lot of beer.
Well, yeah, and the beer. Some of the students like, what's the deal with the beer? He said, well, there's always time to have in life. There's always a time to have a beer with a friend. And I guess pre-COVID, but that was this kind of joke thing about the beer.
It
like
could be water. It could be
Yeah, I say tea. Yeah, for my teen clients and stuff. There's always time to have tea with a friend. But yeah, just kind of going back and kind of thinking about that, like what is important to me, and what do I want to kind of look for what's important to me, and that's kind of connecting with the values a little bit.
Well, I think that was a fantastic way to wrap this section up.
Let's do it. Yeah.
Started off with gratitude, looked around what gratitude is, played around with be gratitude for the things I actually don't want. And it's kind of like, well, be present with them, be grateful for the opportunities that they can actually provide for us.
Yeah.
If I actually close myself off, push away from those things and lock myself in a room and never come out during this whole time, then it's going to be even more painful because the pain of absence. I'm not having access to the things that actually matter to me in the long term. So
I think
that was a good topic to hit today. I think this will be useful. I'll have to,
let's see what they think. That's great. Thank you, Todd. I appreciate it. This is great. I always enjoy these chats.
My pleasure. Until the next time, then. May everybody that's watching this be well.
Thank you so much for watching the video. I hope you got something useful out of it. If you did get something useful out of this, can you do me a favor and just click the like button below? When you do that, you're giving me some very valuable feedback as to this was truly something that was useful and that I should make more videos like this. I hope that you found something valuable here, even if it was just a little bit, because one of my main goals is just trying to make your life 1% better now than it was at the beginning of this video. And of course, as always, if you like what you saw here, please feel free to subscribe. And until the next time, may you be well.